All right. For our final session, we're going to bring up an old friend of mine. There's one hyphen in my name, Lishan, but he is a multi-hyphenate filmmaker, VFX artist, AR, VR, AI kind of guy, and we're going to make sense of some stuff together from some of his past work, but also making sense of some of this present moment and all of this disruption that's happening to the industry and to the culture because of AI, and ways to stay on top of things and to experiment and also to keep things really fucking weird. So let's give a warm AIGA welcome to my friend Jon Sims.
I guess we are sharing the mic.
All right. We're gonna share a mic. All right. Okay. We're gonna vamp. This is great. This is improv. So, Jonathan, we've known each other for decades, so I know who you are. You're trying to figure out who you are as well, and these folks don't know who you are. So, yeah.
Yeah, so what's the question? What do you want to know?
Tell us about your story and a little bit about how you got here in terms of your career.
Well, I started doing VFX like out of film school and working on big movies and stuff, being a generalist and kind of getting to lay the land of like how visual ideas are conveyed in this world where like basically every moment of cinema is like highly mediated in like 4 different modalities. And that was cool. Worked on some really cool stuff. And then I was like, I want to make my own things. And like in doing VFX, I became acquainted with like just like how it all works. And technology is like just moving so fast. And so around the time that like VR kind of happened around Oculus, I was like, I just want to start making 360 immersive stuff, knowing all I know about 360 projection, stereography, all these things. And I love drag, and I love...
Power.
Hey, we don't have to share anymore.
It's too bad. Sometimes it's more fun to share.
Yeah, so what was the question?
Well, so we have the kind of slick pitch deck version of you, right? And we were talking about this backstage, this like tension between the slick, how we talk about ourselves in the elevator pitch or like the niche. So you're apparently a director and cross-platform creator.
So like the thing is, I just want to like make stuff that I really like for people that I really like and get paid for it. Like that's like just what I want to do. And fortunately, I do, and I figured out how to get paid for it. Now I'm figuring out how to get paid more for it.
Yeah.
That's what we all should be doing, in my opinion. And so like I just I try to find clients and ideas that will let me connect technologies in new, novel ways. Mm-hmm. Even if I might not make them money, just because they're like, oh, this is cool. Let's just like fuck with it.
Yeah. So there's also
let's just see what happens. Yeah.
There's also this official story known for innovations in technology and style.
This is Bob. This is a volumetric scan of Bob the drag queen we did at Metastage for a series of TikTok filters. And then I made a whole music video just from the meshes that we captured.
So we're going to show some examples of that and deconstruct some of this stuff. But I think one of the through lines of how you've thought through your career or just kind of...
Yeah, like how do I get to work for like Bob and Katya and then the NBA without being at an agency?
Yeah, because you started out with pretty mainstream stuff, right? Like, why don't we start with some of the mainstream stuff earlier in your carear, and then we can talk about your drag queen to Charles Barkley kind of.
Yeah, the drag queen to Charles Barkley origin story.
Yeah.
That's yeah, so what do you see now? Okay, yeah. I mean, I was an in-house VFX artist for a long time. Basically, an in-house VFX artist is like the kind of like short order chef, like Navy SEAL of VFX, where you're like working with the directors and the writers and stuff like that. They're like, hey, we got this idea. Let's just can you make this happen in like 3 hours? It doesn't have to be great, but let's just put in the edit. It was a really fun way to learn how to be agile with technologies and how they interface with visual storytelling, and not have to worry about details, not have to worry about being good or being final, because my work would then go off to be sent to like, you know, the vendors that would then make it like the thing you see in a movie. Yeah.
But all of this stuff has been disrupted, right, with technology and just the way that the industry is changing. For folks who are maybe unfamiliar with like how this segment of the industry works, can you just give us a brief overview of why you stopped doing this kind of big budget stuff?
Well, I mean, I just, you know, I'm a storyteller. I'm an artist, and I have my own things I want to say and everything. And I liked I liked getting to the point of VFX where I was working with the directors and working with the producers and the writers. And I was like, that's you're my people. Like, this is what like. And so, yeah, like what I use my own network to basically get bigger clients, like, and yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it totally does. So let's
These are my
talk about,
cinematographers.
This
is my business deck, so like.
But I really like this, like, kind of the official story that's polished and like manicured, and then there's just kind of like the mess of trying to making.
So like the success story that I really like is I did this thing. I wanted to work with Katya. I knew I wanted to do AR VR stuff with drag queens, and like how the hell could that make anybody money? Like whatever. I was in the drag community, and I had access to some really cool dynamic performers that like really weren't well known. And I made a 360 video called "The Cosmic Laughter of Coochie Manaka" that is on YouTube. It's right there.
Yeah.
And then this ended up getting me work with Katya to do "Be Your Own Dentist," which went to Slam Dance, and you know was at AIGA with the Russo brothers. They selected it for their XR stuff. But we have a short clip of a user doing it. I don't know.
Yeah, let's play it, and then why don't you talk?
I don't know how dynamic their engagement with my film is going to be. It was also, this is actually it's in stereoscopic, so if you have a visor, it's actually three-dimensional. We shot it with 2 cameras. It's about being trapped inside the soul of a trans drag performer activist before they go on stage.
So this is someone with a headset on.
Yeah, this is a stereoscopic 360 thing. And they're looking the right places, you know. They found the thing in the background. They explored the title. You know, the thing in the background was a bit of a summary of the themes that I'm engaging, and then we...
And what is this sort of black hole abyss?
What is the black hole? I don't know. We're going into her. Okay, so yeah, so I made this Mighty Boosh like kind of surreal absurdist thing that we're not going to watch all of, but like this got noticed by Katya, who you know is somebody that I really like for a number of reasons, and it was one of those things where she reached out to me. She saw a tweet I did on Twitter, and you know she was like, I want to make a VR thing about a meditation about removing your own teeth. A guided meditation about removing your own teeth. It's a virtual reality simulation. And I was like, I am your guy. Let's do this. And
you had an interesting story about how Katya was sourcing all of these teeth, right?
Oh, yeah. We're on set, and like she's pulling. Well, let's do the next slide. Let's go to the next.
All
slide.
right, let's watch.
Yeah. So I ended up basically working for Katya for doing tour visuals for her, doing music videos, just you know, at PEG. And we've got a clip of Be Your Own Dentist. I think a trailer.
Hello there.
Yeah.
I'm so glad.
Again, this is a 360.
Today. I know you've been feeling a lot of stress and frustration lately.
So you can see the evolution.
So I'm happy you've decided to take some time to relax and to reset. Be patient. Take all the time you need, and remember to come back to the deep, rhythmic assurance of the breath. Inhaling. Exhaling.
So, I mean, you can see that I basically used the project with Coochie to troubleshoot an R&D, a workflow, and a kind of conceptual thematic framework that I could then use to take and hopefully get noticed by, Coochie. I love that, but get noticed by somebody that had a 5-figure budget for it, and that just felt really good to be like, this is a totally like out of left field thing for a kind of niche market that you would never imagine you could get work for, and I made it happen by just believing in the concept and being agile with the technology and kind of thinking about how can I scale this idea creatively and retain my own kind of integrity so that I'm doing what I want. And fortunately, she was great. I mean, that was awesome. That was a dream to work on that. But that kind of became the framework for like how I've been getting work. What I've been doing is like finding ways that new technologies that emerge that are going to get pressed, they're going to get noticed by tech blogs or whatever that whatever the new buzzword is, whether it should be or shouldn't be, it's the buzzword. Is there a way you can actually do something fun and interesting with that you believe in? Figure out how to connect that with somebody that's in your sphere, and yeah, so that was kind of the trial run for that approach. And then it happened again with Bob the Drag Queen. Since it was already at PEG, their record label, they contacted me to be like, we want to make an AR filter of Bob. Can you do this? And I was like, oh, yeah, sure. And I was like, fuck, can I do this? Like,
can you do this? Yeah.
And I already had experience with Volcap through the Coochie Manaka project, and so I was like, yeah, sure, I can do this. How do we do this? And so I told Metastage about it, and they were so down because they were huge Bob fans. And so I ended up making this suite of. By the way, this is the first time volumetric capture is where it's a light field capture of a human moving, and I figured out a way to get this on TikTok, which had never been done before. So that was the first, and I got some clips of. Oh yeah, and so then after that, we'll get to this. After that, I took the stuff from the meshes and was able to recycle it and use it to make additional kind of value-added stuff for Bob. After we made the TikTok thing with the same assets she already paid for. So let's look at the TikTok stuff.
Yeah. All right, so these are the filters. These are some stills, but we also have some clips that we
those
can
are some examples. You can, if you scan those, you can actually use them. But you know,
we'll leave them up for a sec if people want to scan them.
Yeah. Let's see the stuff that they. Next slide.
All right, here's the clip though.
So that's a 360. Like you can spin her around. And
One of the great things about living in Astoria is that Bob the Drag Queen puts on free shows in our grocery stores. But, I need fabric softener and she won't get out of the way.
It's gonna jump to the NBA in a second, I think. Yeah. So then after that, Turner Warner approached me to do the same thing for Inside the NBA on TNT with Charles Barkley and these other sports people that. And so this is again the same concept of like, it's the same workflow that I R&D'd with Bob, and suddenly I'm in Atlanta, volcapping Charles Barkley. Crazy, like I never would have thought that would happen. So yeah, but it's the same idea. It's the same kind of approach to like, what do I want to do and how can I do it?
So to synthesize a little bit, there is kind of like, you want to do R&D, you want to like make weird art stuff.
Not necessarily weird
technology.
Things that excite me, and you might think that's weird.
Yeah.
I just think it's what I want to do.
No, I think weird is good, but I'm saying it in a bad way. Yeah.
Also, not every project is a portfolio piece.
Right.
That's, anyway.
Yeah. Or it's like, I think maybe there's something we can talk about that in terms of like, there's the passion stuff, there's the research stuff, and then there's like the money stuff, right? And like, you're balancing these things, and maybe things that start with this more avant-garde experimentation with some of your early clients gives you the techniques and the workflows to then work with the MBA.
Yeah, well, I mean, inside the NBA, Warner, whatever. What was the question?
I was just synthesizing for the audience.
You're translating.
We've done this before. Spatial video
Oh yeah,
Digital
that's
capture.
what. This is actually is not spatial video. I've learned spatial video is now an Apple's calling stereoscopic film, like the Katya thing, where you have left eye, right eye. This is technically volumetric, but I don't think we actually have any volumetric stuff. This is another. Yeah, this is. Oh, it actually does kind of relate because I did the Bob music video. This is where you scan people, and this is actually all done in Unreal Engine. Another novel workflow I did, which is getting Volcap stuff playing back in Unreal Engine. And we made these 2 music videos, captured the performers, and basically built a world in Unreal and just had them, living their life we told them to live, and then went in with virtual reality cameras and filmed the music videos with handheld cameras in Unreal as if it was reality. And then cut it like a traditional music video. And
so what's like the advantage of doing something like that?
I'm not sure if there was one, but we tried.
Yeah, so that's again part of this experimentation, right?
I mean, it was cool. I mean, look, we got by using Volcap to get her face, we crossed the uncanny valley. That's not a design render. That's her face. That's a high resolution texture projected onto a Volcap thing of her face that we then put on top of a mocapped game character. The alternative is like, trying to get a CG, character to animate and look human. I don't have a clip of this, but you can find it if,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a next clip.
Yeah, what's the next one? Is the next one Bob?
I
The
think
video?
so.
Yeah, so we just did some, this is some examples of some of the, so these are the same assets I used to make the TikTok filters, just recontextualized as CG elements, like for like, yeah. This song's awesome too. There's one more clip I want to show. But also just like being like, going to a client and being like, hey, so we already paid for this, but we could also do this with this thing. Like, do you have a need for that? And we're not gonna watch all this, but like, yeah. So I'm able to like affect it in other ways.
Yeah.
That was it. So.
Yeah. So again, like using this formula, or like in the case of Bob the drag queen, you already worked with her to make one thing, and then you could make another thing. So it's like not necessarily an upsell, but it's like, hey, we've created these assets, we've created this workflow. Like, what other new stuff can we make?
I mean, I think the label of this conversation I had was like called curiosity as insurgency, and like I know that's super dramatic, but this idea that like all this technology is happening so fast, and it's going to keep on happening even faster until society stops existing, which could be any day now, and like. People are designing it to be used in one way, right? And we're all seeing it used in one way. And it's like we should be curious about how these things can be used in different ways, sometimes simultaneously. And that's going to give us as artists the power to adapt this super weird, fast-moving situation that we are all rocketing through right now. And I think AI is really like the perfect example of like. This thing that I want to like talk about, I think. And I wish I had a better breakdown of my work, but...
Yeah. Before we go to the screen capture, where you were really generous to share some of your like actual workflows and, before we go to that, I kind of wanted to ask you about the work that you're doing now that we don't have visuals for, but the Pianist and how you're doing stills to...
Right, we're going to get into that with this. We're going to get into that with this. How do I approach this? So like, the reason why I want to talk about like curiosity as insurgency in relation to AI is because I feel like artists, creatives, rightly terrified of what we're seeing and stuff, and that's cool. We're all in shock. That's part of the trauma. But like, we need to be curious about what this can do for us and how we can break this, how we can hack this, and how we can do what we've always done, which is always be the first to do something. And that's not going to change no matter what LLM is trained with your stolen material by China or OpenAI or whatever, they're training stuff from the past. Like there's no.
Yeah, it's sausage made out of sausage made out of sausage.
Right. So like my thing is, we as artists, we need to understand that like we can play this game too, and we can make our own AI work. Also, AI is a terrible fucking term. It's not intelligent. It's predictive. But we need to make our own machine learning workflows. It's going to be so easy to train our own LoRa's off our own work, right? Like this is an opportunity for all of us to really fuck with stuff, you know, and like. I'm trying to, with my work now, create use cases that can show that. And I haven't released my stuff because I really wanted to get it right, because I also don't want to get blacklisted for using AI. Because even if I'm using my own content, my own ideas, there's this stigma on it. So I'm getting ahead of myself.
Yeah. The Pianist and the shoot.
Yeah, I was shooting just video. So I have a workflow that I'm doing right now to do AI, and I've got a little sample of it here. This started with a drag queen that I was doing tour visuals for this drag queen named Benediction from Arizona, and yeah, let's just watch. Okay, so I'm just all right. So what we're seeing is that's her in a costume she designed. These are just me messing around. These are all my own designs. Her face, my designs. Every concept here is something I created or she created or my cinematographer shot. And I didn't have time to really. So that stuff of her, she's this monster thing. This is a house I created in Blender. I made stills in Blender. And I trained things off the stills in Blender. Yes, I know I could just render it in Blender, but I want to see if I can do this entirely in 2D with my own like LoRa's and stuff. So she transforms into this monster. That's her. That's her face. That's her costume she designed. That's my environment I designed in Blender. That's not a render. That's from a generation. And so we're going to go to these stills we shot. That's the render from Blender. These are the stills we shot of her. Actually, that's not a still. That's the still we shot. And I used AI to repose her and build her costume out. And so.
And this is just Photoshop.
Yeah, this is just Photoshop. Yeah, and I wish I had a better. See, we never intended to do this. These were stills we. Oh, this is cool. So that's a hand that I made from her costume that we didn't actually photograph. And that pose and costume is from another costume of hers that she's going to disintegrate. There and that. So like we didn't even plan on making this. I did tour visuals for her and we did a photo shoot. It's just kind of a value-added thing for her. And I was looking at these cool photos and I'm like, what can I make with this stuff? Like, how can I, we have all these cool environments. Is there a way that I can use AI basically just as a animation studio to tween between my own visual concepts? And so that's what I'm doing for this composer now. We shot that yesterday. You know, we shot her hands playing the keyboard, playing the piano, that I'll then extract motion data with a variety of 2D mocap stuff. We're going to build a Comfy UI workflow that makes an armature of her hands, like, you know, that we can then use to iterate that in other modalities, if she's a robot or whatever. And then we just shot stills of her in the environment that, you know, that then I will, you know, make environments in Blender and comp her in and then have basically this ability to make a video, you know, from her with my
So the point is kind of like you do a first shoot and you could just use the stills as is, sort of like with this drag queen example. Yeah. But then there could be use cases down the line where you're not even sure what you're going to do. But
yeah, and so it creates a really interesting thing for her. Like she's like, I want all this stuff. I want all the stills. I want all the things. Because she wants, as an artist, she wants to have the agility to be like, I might need new verticals for Spotify because I'm doing a tour XYZ. Let's pull frames from the video we did, and I'm going to, myself, because we can all do AI now, I can now iterate off these renders we made. Right. Or she can hire me again to do something new. Right.
Or it's like, even if you happen to have missed a shot in the shoot like you did with the drag queen, you could still... generate something, right? But it's based on your actual shoot. It's not based on the slop that's out there.
Yeah. So I don't know. I invite everybody to be terrified but also curious of AI and think about how you can do it, but own it. Get Comfy UI. That's my advice: is get Comfy UI.
Get what?
Get Comfy UI.
Yeah.
And a good antivirus thing.
That's great advice. So if we like kind of come full circle, I asked you at the beginning to like ask you who you are, and I know this is something, we've been talking about this in the last couple of days as well as you're trying to figure it out. Like, how do you talk about this? Obviously, we saw the really slick pitch deck version of Jon Sims.
Yeah, people ask me what I do, and I just like kernel crash. Like I'm just like well, right now I'm doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So right now I'm making a variety of media for a composer that wants to experiment with, I don't know.
Yeah.
What are any of us
You're the
doing?
guy who does like drag queen, horror, teeth, abyss stuff, and also stuff for the NBA.
Right, yeah.
But I think that's maybe something to land on is that there's so much pressure for that elevator pitch and that niche for a lot of creatives these days that's in a response to just the capitalist system that we're living in where we're trying to sell our labor. But I think like a lot of this innovation and experimentation happens in that undefinable multi-hyphenate, which is also a challenge in terms of existential angst, but it is where a lot of creativity comes from.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not easy.
Word. So in terms of like what's next for you, I know you're figuring this out. You had the shoot this week. Like, where do you see yourself going, or what would your dream projects be?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just trying to focus on the thing in front of me right now, and I want to see where this goes with her, and like what the assets are, how this stuff moves, and I don't know. I mean, what's next is hopefully is really making this client really happy with the work I've done and showing people some cool stuff and showing people how I did it and getting them excited about how that can work for them and what they can do with it and maybe hearing about what they did with my ideas and I don't know,
Yeah, and so you've had decades of experience starting with your VFX career and then also getting into VR and AR. So you've had to learn a lot of technology.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I know everything. Not a lot of it. I know a little of everything.
But I guess
and then I know what I know. I know what I don't know. And that's also really important, is to know what you don't know and then know who to ask.
Yeah, I think that's great advice. Actually, the question I wanted to tee up really is like for the folks out here who are maybe not as technically inclined as you or just don't have as much experience with the stuff as you. Like, do you have any advice for folks to like dip their toes into it, or any tips in terms of like learning and just diving in?
I don't know. It's so weird now with like ChatGPT. Like that's like crazy. I mean, ChatGPT is so good with coding and everything. I mean, say what you will about it. Like, I mean, for easy stuff, it's nuts. I don't know. The best piece of advice I ever got was from Michael Green that wrote Blue-Eyed Samurai and Wolverine or Old Man Logan, and he was like, when you're pitching and they say yes, shut up. Just shut up.
When you're pitching and
they say yes,
shut
and they
up.
say yes, just stop the conversation.
Yeah, the bottom line is
I can never
shut up.
I can never do
Yeah, because you don't want to oversell it, right? Or
you don't want to get them thinking. They're already like in line with
Yeah.
you. Don't let them
second guess themselves either, right? Because I think sometimes folks on the business side exude this confidence and they have control because they control the budgets, but they're also just figuring shit out too.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the only advice I have is like, these are weird times, but like, I just think that I just think there's hope we're not seeing.
Yeah. There's hope we're not seeing.
Yeah, I think so, but we have to be curious about it.
Totally.
And maybe there actually isn't.
And
that's terrifying, but I don't want to know. I want to believe.
Right, you can't live your
I want to
life
believe the thing I said.
Yeah. Or maybe that hope that we're not seeing is something that somebody is making and somebody is doing, right?
Yeah.
I think that's a great place to land this.
Yeah. I don't know. Be happy that you get paid to make stuff. I love being around people that love what they do.
Yeah.
That's just a great feeling.
I think rekindling that love or being recentering around that love is a great place to be.
I don't know what else to say.
I think this is great.
I don't know what else to say.
I love when they say yes, shut up. So I think.
Oh my God! And you know what's funny is I never do. I go into every meeting, and then not never, but like usually I leave the meeting. I'm like, I just kept on talking.
Yeah.
Just kept on talking.
Sometimes you just gotta.
It doesn't always mean something's going to go bad, but if they say yes, like that's why you're in the meeting. Just end it.
Sometimes silence is really powerful, like especially as a podcast host, sometimes I will just wait there. I can always close the gaps in post if I need to, but it gets people to keep on talking. It works as a teacher too, with students. So like sometimes it's just stop and that's it. So look for the hope that is there somewhere and stop when they say yes.
I don't know. Learn how to make lures of your own work. That's my advice. Learn how to make lures of your own work and start fucking with that. And do it locally on your own machine. Don't give it to anybody. And just see what happens. I don't know. You know, Laura is like the light length. It's like the smaller model you put on top of the LLM.
Yeah. Word. Well, Jonathan, thank you for chatting with me today. Thank you all for being here. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back with the AIGA awards. So we'll see you back at 5.